Happy Halloween! My name is Dakota.
I'm Lauren.
And welcome to the Horror Nights Gauntlet HHN 32 review.
I liked it. That was good.
I feel like we delivered it on the first try.
Damn.
Got it.
Never happened before.
Never happens. One try. One take, baby. Never going to see the set again, but one take. Happy Halloween and welcome to the Horror Nights Gauntlet's HHN 32 review. Long overdue as usual. At this point, I was saying to Lauren that I don't really think we take a hiatus. It's not that we're late. We're a seasonal show, and we're in season again. But I don't know. I got really depressed when we weren't working on the show, and I was like, I'm gonna get my shit back together. I'm gonna listen to my friend's podcast. It's been months since I listened to anybody's. I was listening to Catacombs, and Matt and Hunter were talking, and they posted their review in December, and they're like, well, we're last to the party, and I was like, just you wait. It is. Oh my god. It is June 24th, the day of this recording, and you probably aren't seeing this episode till August. So, as those of you who tuned in for the special reports, we have transitioned mediums. We are a hybrid show. We are now both a YouTube series and a podcast. Because I hate editing. I really do. I hate it.
There's a lot of different factors, not just that.
There are a lot of factors.
Our schedules have changed drastically since we started doing this, so this just seems more realistic to actually be able to get content out. And also, you're moving, so we aren't going to have our lovely set behind us.
Though I do have ideas. Stay tuned. But... you know, with that said, we are, of course, extremely overdue for the Halloween Horror Nights 32 review. And we were definitely not going to, let the last couple of days of having a space for this set slip by us, slip through our fingers. So we are here maybe not one last time, but one last time for now. And we are here to talk about Dr. Oddfellow and all of the wild and dark denizens of Halloween Horror Nights 32. So without further ado, Lauren, what are your just general overall thoughts on Horror Nights 32?
I really liked this year. I feel as though we are finally getting back to pre-COVID scares in houses where they're in your face and almost touching you, and so I think that really added a lot to this year. Plus having an icon. This is my first year with an icon that hasn't been an icon for...
This was the first year that felt like a real icon year. Because we've had the Pumpkin Lord was kind of an icon.
Yes, yeah.
You know, but this really felt like we have an icon.
We have an icon, and there's storylines based around this icon.
And it's it feels park-wide, genuinely, for the first time in years. I would say this, for me anyway, I felt that Oddfellow felt more like a true icon than even Jack at 30. For me, Jack, I felt the last time Jack really felt like the icon was 25, yeah.
30 also just got tainted by COVID,
everything,
so.
Yeah. 30 was a mess. 30 had all sorts of shit going on. But for me anyway, this really did feel in a lot of ways a return to form, and I know we've been saying that, but
really felt it this year.
It really did. It was wow, we had one.
I forgot. It's I almost forgot how intense some of the scares can be at Horror Nights.
Absolutely.
Because of COVID, pulling back on that.
The fact that obviously really no COVID procedures in place, but also 5 original scare zones. Mm-hmm. I think we had a 5-5 split of IPs and originals, which is great split. That was really cool. It felt classic Halloween Horror Nights to me in a way that the previous 2 years I feel we're very close to. I don't want to discredit them for whatever their whatever COVID problems created. it's just reality, you know. I feel like they were still firing like on a lot of cylinders. I just feel like
yeah.
for me this year was really just there were not a lot of misses.
Right. Yes. There was maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, like just a couple. And like looking at my overall ranking, I'm like, there's like a point where I'm just like, okay, and here's like the kind of meh stuff, but it's like more than halfway down the list do I start getting to like my meh stuff personally.
Yeah, same.
How did you feel? You know, we did actually, to pull back the curtain for a second, we did film a food and beverage review this year. Life got insane in the middle of September. I kind of changed jobs, and it was just sort of like a lot of stuff was happening, and it was a lot of new things, and I just really didn't have time to work on the show. So a lot of the like cool ideas I had planned just didn't pan out. But we did film it. We did film a food and drink. We tried all of the drinks and beverages. Did you have any that like stood out to you?
I really liked the like stew at the Last of Us cabin. I thought that was really good. That drink there, was it Salt Lake?
Oh yeah, like the Salt Lake City iced coffee or something.
That was good.
I also really liked that. That was very high on my list.
The peanut butter drink that was at Stranger Things.
There was one of the drinks at Stranger Things that laid me on my ass.
Yeah.
And it was at the one in the Music Plaza.
Yes, that.
Specifically.
That one.
Oh,
the sandwich.
Yeah, the sandwich in the Stranger Things, that was fire. And then the other, I know not everybody was into the Hawaiian flatbread pizza, but I was really into that. I was also it was a French bread pizza, rather.
It had jalapenos. I didn't eat it.
I love jalapenos and I love pineapple. I was very into that, and that it was like a passion fruit drink it was the Surfer Boy, whatever. It was at the Surfer Boy cart.
Was it not the one with grapefruit I couldn't have?
Yeah, it was. Oh, I really liked it.
I really liked the Chucky drink, but that line was just like,
yeah, the line was always
not
crazy.
worth it.
It to me, because it tasted kind of like a pickleback.
Yeah.
Because it had cucumber in it, and then it had a little sourness to it, and I was like, it's pretty good. I also it was not good, but I was addicted to it. Was the spicy popcorn chicken at the Chucky booth?
Oh.
That was also kind of, I wouldn't say it was fire, but I ate a lot of it. Also, shout out to the ravioli. Yes. The whole Stranger Things, not Stranger Things, the whole Last of Us setup in Sting Alley was so cool.
The theming was great. The food was good. Like, it wasn't like spectacular, but it was just like...
It tasted like a federally regulated food ration.
I just said spectacular, and you literally
and I look like Harold Ziegler. Stop.
Okay, sorry.
We're actually in our Chapel Rowan era today. Red wine supernova. Anyway.
What was I saying? The food wasn't like the Last of Us food wasn't like super amazing, but it like got the job done.
Yeah.
For the price that you're paying, I'm like, I feel full. It's good.
I would say also specifically the Last of Us food in Sting Alley. One, the atmosphere there and the music. I honestly got more of my like Last of Us vibes.
Yeah.
In that line and waiting for that food. And usually I was like drunk by the time we got there. And I will say both the stew and or the ravioli, because Chris, my partner Chris, would usually get one and I would get the other, and then we would get the iced coffee, and that was truly just like bam, adrenaline.
Yeah, that was like where we would always go when we were like starting to like slow down at night, and it's like, okay, we need a refresh.
Yeah, it was very much. It's hot. The AC is out. These costumes ain't gonna last. Also,
dang,
there's thunder. A storm.
Okay, let's continue.
But yeah, I was really into the Stranger Things food cart in Sting Alley specifically. I actually don't think I liked anything in the other cart though. The other it was like it had like the Firefly.
Are we talking about Stranger Things or are we talking about The Last of Us?
Girl, I was talking about The Last of Us, but I think I said Stranger Things.
I know you said Stranger Things.
The Firefly food carts, I don't even remember what was at them. I was not crazy about that.
Last of Us.
The Last of Us. I don't even remember what was at the other cart. I remember I hated the poutine at the Canada cart.
Oh, I was like, there was another cart.
It was.
It was the corn dog.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Knock it off with those disgusting cheese corn dogs.
I was fine with that corn dog. It had like the mushrooms on it.
I hate mushrooms.
I love mushrooms.
I don't hate mushrooms. I'm just very picky about mushrooms. Like, they have to be like crunchy crisp. And if they are mushy at all, forget it. I like a fried mushroom. I'm really into that. I'm very picky
I
about
love mushrooms.
But yeah, the food was, I was thinking like the food could have been on the ranking, honestly. Like if we had put it somewhere, just because we didn't have as many attractions as the year before with the lack of the Lagoon show. And I was like, the food and drink really, I feel like they've been stepping up that game every year too. Like we've said it before, but like when did they introduce it? 30, I want to say, the like food festival vibe.
I mean, I would say it started in 29.
Oh yeah, for sure. With even 28 with like the waffle themed
It's
things.
like once they started theming that one bar that they have in Transformers,
Yeah.
I feel like it really started to like grow out of that.
And I love it. I have no complaints. Keep it up. And I love that it's a new menu every year. Like, keep up the IP themes. I would love to see more original themed food. Like, I mean, I remember there was a Tooth Fairy booth in the past. We had a Yeti booth this year.
The
Pumpkin one. Oh my God, the gyoza and that it was literally like a spaghetti squash.
Yeah.
And that was so good. Or maybe it was butternut. I don't remember.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Squash.
Anyway, keep it up. Oh, the meats booth. I'm gonna just keep raving about food. The food, love it. We should have put it on the ranking. I don't know where I would have put it in the ranking, but we should have put it on the ranking. As far as I'm concerned, it's an attraction in and of itself at this point.
But I will say, what I consistently see happen each year though is like the food is bomb the first weekend, and then it just kind of goes down in quality like throughout the event. But like, I don't know, still worth it.
I would agree. I think that said, I feel like the Last of Us food kind of kicked ass all season. I never really had a point where like the maybe I had one or two in the middle of the event where the ravioli wasn't so great or the stew wasn't so great. For the most part, even towards the end of the year, I was still getting good.
It was just like, you can't go wrong. It was just like a simple ravioli,
Comfort food.
A simple stew. So you can't, I feel like it would be hard to mess it up, but it got the job done. It wasn't like, the food wasn't so themed that it was just like, I
think that's important because, like, honestly, the year before, I feel like, and I'm saying this as someone who loves spicy food, I think there were too many spicy options.
Oh, yeah, I hate spicy food, so.
And, like, I think you need a good balance of, like, comfort food and then also, like, weird, exotic food for these kind of things.
Yeah.
And I think they struck a much better balance this year, and I was very impressed. I also, can we talk about the facades for the food booths this year? Across the board, looked so much better. You could really tell a lot of budget was put into that this year. Last year, whatever, the year we're talking about. And I thought it was great. I was very impressed with the food offerings at 32, and I definitely wanted to take a moment to talk about that. There was another attraction that we're not going to include on our ranking, mostly just because it wasn't announced formally for the hype, so we didn't include it. But that would have been the Megan dancing, the Megan flash mob. What did you think about that?
It's cute.
It's cute, yeah. It reminded me of, do you remember Death Drums? It was like 12 years ago. I think 22. But it was like
I only went once.
Yeah, they would like roll out these drums on like a tower and like do, I don't know.
Like the construction thing that they have.
It was honestly like that but horror, and it predated that. But it reminded me of that, and it reminded me a little bit of like when I say chainsaw drill team, I don't just mean the people who do chainsaws. I mean literally the drill sergeant and army guys it reminded me of that, where they would like hype them up and then they'd all go scatter. It reminded me of that a little bit, but of course with a cool dance number. I loved the lighting. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. Big rumor it might be coming back this year. And I say, I'm fine with that.
All right.
There was also the other thing. And which shall not be named. But yeah, overall, really fun year. I suppose I can, we'll have some like final thoughts on it at the end, but let's really just get to what the people want to get to, which is the ranking. Well, if you are watching this on YouTube and not listening, we did have to slightly de-drag because, my God, the AC is out and the hats were not hatting.
The hair was not herring.
The hair was not herring. This jacket is hot, and I'm like, she can be over my shoulders. Good God. And of course, it was like kind of a cool look. It is what it is.
That's Florida for you.
Florida.
And Horror Nights. That's
Well.
how it goes.
With that said, we are moving in to our ranking section, what the people actually came here for. If you are new to the program, back when we used to do this exclusively on YouTube, we like to approach our end of season wrap up as not just a ranking of the houses or ranking of the zones separately. We'd like to rank all of the season's attractions kind of together. So we have taken all 16 of the Halloween Horror Nights 32 attractions and added a little extra one. And we will be, it's a really good ranking. It's a really good review format, right? Numbers. But, so we are going to be basically going through the park counterclockwise, starting at Dr. Oddfellows and working our way to the last house and revealing how we felt about them. We also, if you are new, I guess you didn't know, we also do hype episodes towards the, right before the start of every season. So we also did a hype episode for Halloween Horror Nights 32, and it'll be just kind of interesting to look at how things stacked up versus, the sort of expectation versus reality, kind of once we get to the end and see where everything panned out in the end. So without further ado, if you are following along, we are starting right out the gate with the first scare zone that you would enter as you enter the park, Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror. Lauren, where did you have this ranked?
I have this ranked at number 15 out of 17.
Interesting. This was for me number 16 out of 17. And it was also number 5 of my scare zones, if I ranked them separately.
It was number 4 on my scare zone.
Interesting. Wait, you said it was number what overall?
15.
15, okay, so I feel like I know what 17 is.
I feel like everybody knows what 17 is.
I'm curious what your what number 5 of your zones was, though.
I feel like process of elimination makes it very easy to
This ended up being my least favorite zone, though, which I like after all things considered.
So I will say that the reason that this one ended up where it's at versus some other ones is I felt like the stage presence of having Dr. Oddfellow
Absolutely
really just like saved it that little notch.
That is the pro for me.
Yeah.
Well, that and I noted the music. I really liked it. Was like carnival trap kind of beats. Mm-hmm. Like it had a kind of cool vibe to it. It felt a little bit like the Jack music from like 25 back in the day, but it had a little bit of a like a trap or a hip hop kind of vibe to it, which I thought was kind of cool. Still with the carnival remix into it, and I loved Oddfellow himself. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the zone just kind of was a nothing for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I like the suitcases.
It's not like it's my number 3. It's number 15.
It was the first time they've tried out a new venue for a scare zone. Putting a stage in front of the
which I think was a really good, smart choice because it kind of directs the flow of traffic that way a little bit more than just having it bottleneck right there.
I agree. I do hope in the future we can get something back on what is now Minion Land, but if Minion Land is just off limits for a while, so be it, I guess. I like how it led into Dark Zodiac, mm-hmm. and I liked that this was sort of like your thesis zone. It kind of had a little bit of everything sprinkled in it. I didn't actually really like the Oddfellow show, though. Like, at the end of the day, he kind of just gets up on his stagecoach, and he asks you what your sign is, and then he says something about your sign. And I don't know, I guess I thought he was going to, like, do a ritual sacrifice, or, like...
And I agree, like, the show wasn't anything, like, spectacular, but, like, I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and it was, I think, better than, like, the Pumpkin Lord just kind of stepping on a foot pedal and, like, you know, mouthing along.
Or, like, no show.
No show at all. I do agree. As far as, like, I would say that I thought the Daphne from Scooby-Doo Scare Zone show, Conjure the Dark, I thought that had like more of a show than even the fucking Icon.
Daphne, oh my god, that's so funny. I was trying to figure out what you were even talking about.
Like she had like a whole thing, and I was just like, the Icon just kind of, I mean, he talks to you. I like that. I like the one-on-one. I love his costume.
Oh yeah,
it's so cool.
So cool.
That straw top hat, that like fur collar, the bugs in the sleeve was really cool. So many details. Loved it. I don't think the vampires make any sense if you didn't listen to the podcast, though, and you don't understand his relationship with vampires. And I wish he would just tell you, like, why Dark Zodiac is such a big deal and why the Zodiac is such a big theme. I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more why for the layman who isn't, like, us, you know, and, like, diligently researching and reading everything and listening to every podcast. Like, I just wish there was a little bit more for, you know, mom and dad who came down for the weekend, like, just to get to know him and the idea of him a little better. So that's just my criticism. I still really loved, like, overall, the Scare Zones. I really didn't think any of them were really a miss this year. This just kind of landed at the bottom of my Scare Zones, and then kind of stacked up next to everything else. It kind of just landed at number 16. Off to a good start. Next up, we had Dark Zodiac. I know this was really high on my hype list. I had this at, it was number 1 for my Scare Zones and number 2 overall on my hype list. This landed at number 8 for me overall.
This landed at number 12 for me.
Okay.
I liked it, but I felt like sometimes, like, the atmosphere could have been a bit better.
Yeah.
Music wise, it could have had a little bit more energy.
Yeah. I feel like there was a disconnect between obviously what we were expecting. We wanted 7. We said that, you know, it is what it is. We wanted Vanity Ball, we wanted Vamp. It's not what it was. It was more straightforward, scary, and the vibe was maybe a little bit reminiscent of it reminded me a little bit of like Face Off.
Okay.
And it reminded me a little bit of
that makes sense.
Festival of the Deadliest a little bit, but like better looking. With the Bone Scare Zone with Bone and Blood.
Oh,
yeah, I think it was 27?
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of those. It definitely felt like I liked the theme. First of all, costumes across the board generally were incredible, especially for the Zodiac characters.
Yeah, I thought they were very, like, intricate and, like, amazing.
There was a couple that I thought were a little confusing. I wrote down Libra and Aquarius in particular. Libra was just kind of the lady with a hat, and then Aquarius was like a horse skull or something. Like, there was also Sagittarius, which was a horse skull, but the Aquarius one I was very confused by. That never really clicked for me. But then the highlights, though, Scorpio was amazing. Gemini was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my sign, but I really live for Pisces. I thought she was just serving it. So, like, and we had a friend in that zone, and he was telling us that although this was not the cunty zone, that all of the cast members kind of took it upon themselves to just, like, serve anyway and be a little bit like bad bitches. And I was like, I could see that. There was definitely some of them that I was like, okay, she is serving, even though the music is just kind of people screaming.
Yeah.
I feel like if this had had, like, a dance soundtrack, the vibe would have
been so much better.
And with the exact same sets, exact same costumes, just a completely different soundtrack, and this would have been number 1 for me.
Yeah. Of the zones.
Of the zones. I loved also the big aliens on stilts who they had on their heads. They were elemental, kind of, and they were, like, tied to the tarot, and then also the elements for each sign. I thought that was really cool. Also, the glowing medallions with everyone's sign, like, symbol on it was really cool. The chainsaw guys, specifically on nights where there was like a severe weather warning and they couldn't hold their chainsaws, they had these like Final Fantasy swords. I don't know if you ever saw that. They were like
I don't think I did.
They look like the Buster sword from Final Fantasy VII. They were just these big fucking swords, and they would just like walk around with their swords and like smack them at you. And I thought that was really cool. And they had like the symbols like running down the side of the sword, which was really cool. Honestly, I liked that better than the chainsaws. Like the chainsaws are iconic, but I was like, I kind of like the swords better. I think it feels, kind of fits the zone better. Really liked that. But I think the story still pretty confusing. If you don't know what's going on, it would just be Zodiac characters, which I guess speaks for itself. But I just wish there was a little bit more of like, I'm Dr. Oddfellow, coming to the Zodiac realm where I do whatever it is that I do while you're there.
But I would argue that you really don't get much of Oddfellow's story in that zone. It's more of like a precursor to his story.
It's true.
So it's fine.
I mean, I have honestly feelings about Oddfellow's presence in all of the zones, and that I think he could have been more present. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he needed to be disguised. I think he could have just been Dr. Oddfellow. Like, I don't know. We'll get to it when we get to Jungle in a minute, but like, yeah, thoughts on that. I think just, I mean, because like the story is that he was trapped in the Zodiac realm, right? So like, I think it would have been really cool to have him like, I don't know, being like, maybe if it had been Oddfellow in that like torture device on one of the stages. I think Ares, it was like the Sagittarius stage. I also wish there had been more of those, more like interactive kind of torture devices on the stages.
But I wish they did more with them. Like, I feel like Ares just sat there and, like, pressed a button, like, a lot of times. And, like,
lift him out and dunk him, you know? So there was, as much as I loved it, it did not completely meet the criteria that I was hoping for. It still came in, for me, it was my number 2 of the scare zones.
It was my number 3 of the scare zones.
It just overall landed at number 8, and I still did really like it. I had a really good time. We're still in like the stratosphere of like stuff I really enjoyed.
Yeah, even with it being my number 12, like that's still on the part of my list where I'm like, enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would say the question marks start coming in around number 12, maybe 11 or 12, or where I'm like, all right, I have mixed feelings. This zone, though, I did really like it. There were just things I would have personally done different or would have wanted something just a little bit different from it. But I still, overall, thought it was really great.
So next up is Jungle of Doom.
Expedition Horror. Loved this zone.
Yeah.
This was, I will tell you, this was ranked at... This was number 4 for me overall.
This was number 6 for me overall.
And it was my number 1 scare zone.
It was my number 1 scare zone.
Temple, amazing. Crash Plane, amazing. I also just love Central Park scare zones. I realize people always have issues every year because they can't just stop and hang out. I don't care. They're always scary, they're tight, they're claustrophobic, yes, they're crowded. But
they're always beautiful.
They're beautiful. They have so much atmosphere.
The energy is usually like amazing.
Yeah, like I'm absolutely a Central Park scare zone defender. I do, of course, love the pumpkins and the trees, but I also love seeing how they take that concept and apply it to something different. And I thought the bats and the eyes were so cool.
They were really cool.
I loved how when Oddfellow would like pull the stone out and he would like laugh and everything would light up green, the eyes would also turn green. I thought that was so fucking cool. I'll keep raving. You please say something.
No.
Don't worry. I had plenty of notes. The praying mantis. That like I loved all of the like plant monsters.
Yeah, they were fun.
That was really cool. They had like this almost goofy vibe to them, but then like the vibe to the zone itself was not camp. It was just kind of like. I feel like they've been playing with that a bit.
It was kind of camp.
Yeah.
But, like, not still. But, like, a little.
I was thinking, honestly, back to 2019 with, like, the Mouth Brooders in Depths of Fear and the Yetis and Yeti in 2019. How they both were, like, scary houses, but then the monsters looked a little silly. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is that kind of what the era that we're in now is, like, that, like, some of the monsters are, like, more funny looking, and yet it comes down to the performer to like deliver the scary. I don't know. I'm just being very meta right now, but
I don't know. Like, honestly, Depth of Fear has, like, grown on me post that event.
Interesting.
I'm like, oh, it's kind of fun. But, like, it wasn't scary, but it was fun.
I have fond memories of pretty much everything from 29, though, so.
That's fair.
But,
That's fair.
yeah, like, the praying mantis and the pterodactyl, these were very goofy looking monsters to me, but I loved them.
Yeah.
The pterodactyl especially. Also that, do you remember there was one that had like a snake face and like blue dreadlocks?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was really cool. I don't know. I liked that they felt vaguely indigenous without kind of aping any particular culture, and yet they were still like plant alien, almost a Little Shop of Horrors, kind of like. It almost felt like it could have been connected to Seeds of Extinction in a way.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like with just a little bit of a different kind of vibe to it. And I think the way that Oddfellow is implemented into this zone was the best of any of the scare zones.
Oh, 100%.
Like, that was so cool to me.
Because that's him actually finding
a piece of his costume and his story.
Yeah.
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 So cool.
It's such a major part of his story that it's like.
I wish every single scare zone had something that was of the caliber of Oddfellow finding that stone.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they don't. I have feeling I'll talk more about Oddfellow as we get to him in each of his instances, but that for me was very like, oh wow, that I felt the same kind of like shocked, gagged, gag-gooped, all of that, like seeing Eelmouth being murdered by the Terror Queen at 30, like same level of like gobsmackery, like really lived for that. I thought that was so cool. I was really into the fact that this was a reworking of an original house from 2003, Jungle of Doom. We talked about that a little bit. What I've been able to find on that house, it does seem like it was a little racially insensitive if you were to look at it now. Things age, they do. That's just how things go. It's, it was 20 years ago at the time, but I think bringing back something like that and twisting the concept, updating it, modernizing it, putting a person of color front and center in the story, taking away the racially insensitive aspect and making them plant monsters. I think all of that like came together to create this very unique, very fun 1920s adventure pulp kind of vibe. It felt like Tomb of the Ancients. It felt like Indiana Jones. It was really cool. I really like this zone, and I think it was absolutely how you take sort of a problematic concept and like update it for modern times. And I thought it was just firing on all cylinders. I really loved this zone.
Yeah, it was good. Next up is Universal Monsters Unmasked, where we had Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I think that was it. There's 4 of them.
Yep. So, Dakota, where did this fall for you?
So this was number 5 on my hype list, and it ended up overall at number 7, but still number 5 of the houses.
This ended up as my number 5.
I was really like trying to make it in my top 5, and I just kept looking at other things that I had to put above it.
It was, okay, so literally ranking the houses for this year was almost as hard as making my hype list for this year, where I'm just like, any of these could be like interchangeably, like they're all good.
Yeah, I loved this house, and on closing night, there were so many people who were like, are you gonna come do Monsters to close with us? And I was like, I'm gonna do a different house. But it just, especially towards the end of the event, I just feel like the cast was just really figuring it out. I used to say this house had a little swish in its step. This house, because it's just so gay coded, like all the phantoms and their little with their capes, and they're like, and also they're the Phantom of the Opera, the gayest of the monsters. And there's so much I loved about this house, but there were moments that I'm like, this is kind of camp, and I live.
That was great.
But it was also elegant and show-stopping and lovely. One of the facade, my God. The Invisible Man taunting the police officer.
The Invisible Man! We forgot that.
We didn't say
No!
Well, the Invisible Man is also in this house. And the rain, I love when it rains in a haunted house in general. I always lose my mind. I'm like, it's raining!
And the police officer being like, get inside!
Love that. Extra. Love the little French newsy. Love that. Love the Phantom story being the like face carving killer or whatever his whole thing is that his face is like rotting off, so now he's like cutting off other people's faces. Love that.
That was great. That was like a really nice twist on the story.
I rewatched all of the houses before we did this because I was just like, I just want to refresh everything. And I feel like a part of that house that like I almost always would kind of just like overlook was the catacombs, like right at the beginning. But there's like this lovely, I noticed there's projections in every single house this year. Multiple projections just everywhere. There's so many projections. Usually just shadows, but like right to start, there's like that famous scene from Phantom of the Opera where Christine removes the mask, but it's his like disgusting peeled off face. And it's just a shadow of her peeling it off and being like, ugh. And I loved that. I don't understand the barrels of TNT ready to blow. I don't remember if that's from the novel and I just forgot about it, but love that little scare.
I'm trying to remember because I read the novel going into the season. But I don't... There's so many things that are like different in the novel than versus like the movies.
Yeah. Phantom definitely, I feel like this house could have just been a Phantom of the Opera house and like you could have just really pushed that concept as far as you wanted.
Yeah, because like I said, it was such a unique twist on that story.
Yeah, like I could have followed the face peeling thing the whole time.
Like I want that movie now.
Maybe they didn't want to do it because it would have been too similar to like Puppet Theater, that only having been like 2 years later. I don't know, but who cares? Like,
I liked it. Like I want a Phantom movie. That's that premise.
Yeah, it was such a fun. Honestly, I feel like what the theme parks have been doing with the Universal monsters for the last several years has just been like the most exciting use of the Universal monsters in I would say since like Francis Ford Coppola, like Dracula, like 1992. Like yeah. It's like I think this is as good as it's been in 30 something years. 32. But I did not love the curtains.
Okay.
And I think that the Invisible Man, I could have taken or leaving him.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, like
I
forgot about it. The his little moment, like where he like does his little thing, is really cool. But I don't feel like he's as threatening as the other monsters that are in that house.
Absolutely not threatening. But like Hunchback also had that iconic like that coming down from the bell tower. And
I will say, that set was also stunning.
Yeah, there was a lot of like mid house facades that were freaking remarkable this year.
The first time you see Mr. Hyde and you're in like Parisian Courtyard,
yeah,
incredible. I was thinking when I was watching it, why, like, if you had cut the Invisible Man completely, you could have used his, because it's like 2 rooms, you could have used that space to introduce Dr. Jekyll, like, getting transformed into Mr. Hyde. Because I just felt like him transforming back into Dr. Jekyll at the end of his little sequence, like, it was very easy to miss, where I feel like you could have had a laboratory, you could have had all these, I don't know. That was a little disappointing to me, but Hyde laid me on my ass every fucking time, all 3 of them. There was, like, the one that would come barreling out, there was the one who was, like, right inside the door, and then the other one who was doing the spine rip. Mm-hmm. All of them, it was just on my ass. Great scare. Hunchback scare. If it wasn't there, though, like, I feel like that house could flatline for me, and I think that's why I ended up not putting it in my top 5.
Interesting.
It was just, like, one of the most essential scares, one of the very last scares of the house, and it's just like, damn, he's not up there.
Which happened more and more
I noticed
at the end of the season. Yeah.
So that was that.
I feel typically happens with those bungee scares as well.
It's true. I mean, I get it. They take a while to set up, and if you don't have someone who is, I think, certified to do it, you can't do it. So if someone calls out, you might have a whole cast all night that can't do that scare.
Yeah.
So that sucks, but it's just a reality of those kind of scares. So take it or leave it. I did really like the like final catacomb finale and like the sewers. I thought that was really cool with all the monsters kind of attacking at once.
Yeah.
Where did this stack up for you compared to, we don't have to say every monster house, but let's just say the monster houses since 2019, since like we're kind of in this monster renaissance?
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like I maybe liked it more. People are gonna kill me for this. I think I liked it more than 2019's monsters.
Okay.
But less than like Bride. I think I liked Legend more as well. Legends Collide.
I think 2019 Monsters is still my favorite Monsters house just because it really just kind of had everybody.
It had everybody. It was definitely iconic.
Like,
for sure.
I think honestly for me 2019 Legends, like as far as my favorite monsters go, like I think Phantom sequence in the 2019 house I liked better than any of the stuff in this house.
It was very classic Phantom. That's the thing is I think I do enjoy these like monster stories that are not the norm that we usually get with the story.
It's like they feel remixed.
Yeah, so that's I think why 2019 is not as high.
Yeah.
Is because I do like to see these like new interpretations of these characters.
That's totally valid. I think if I was ranking them, I would actually put Legends Collide at the bottom. This would probably be third. Then Bride and 2019 Monsters are just kind of neck and neck with each other. Bride, I think, is just the best example of how to do the remix story.
Bride is 100% my fave.
And for me, Monsters 2019 is just like the best, like, just like, you know, it's the full buffet.
Yeah.
So it's like they kind of are just on equal footing for me, just doing slightly different things. Bride is just, it's yet to be topped. Maybe this year? Maybe. We'll see. We shall see. But yeah, I am definitely of the attitude, like, keep them coming. Once Dark Universe is open, I don't care. We can keep doing monster houses. Like, you don't have to stop. I'm not tired. Like, keep them coming. It's kind of like we get one IP that's just kind of checked and it feels like an original. So yeah. I love them.
So our next house is The Last of Us. Yes. How did you have this ranked?
So I will admit I did not have this super high on even my hype list. I think I had it at number 12.
Me too.
And it was like number 9 of the houses for my hype list. But for the season, it finished at number 13. And number 8 of the houses.
Mine finished at number 10 overall and number 8 of my houses.
You give it to me first.
I had issues with it, but I also thought it was very pretty.
Yeah.
And, actually, the more I'm thinking about it, it is what it is now. But I don't know. Maybe there are things past this that I liked a little bit more.
Interesting. I was very back and forth on this house, and which I put at number 8 of the houses, 13 overall, and the number 9 house that I picked. Both IPs, neither just quite delivered what I needed completely top to bottom. And I think the start for this of my problems is I watched it a couple times. I watched multiple POVs. I was like, because I like really went from very passive and blasé about The Last of Us as an IP to like kind of a fan.
Yeah. Over
the course of like this season. I had never played the original game. My partner and I played it. We both had a really good time. Like, you know, we'd watch each other play and see where we were at, like checking updates. Like, it almost felt like we were in a book club, but we were playing this game together. And then I enjoyed Last of Us 2 even more and fell even more in love with that. And I think trying to take the story of the first game and condense it to just one episode, essentially, of the adventure was a mistake.
And especially since I feel like that portion of it is just like, I don't know, not even the most interesting part of.
I agree.
And it's just like, why?
I think like, don't get me wrong. I love a house that feels like it exists in its world. Like you really are there. I thought the original Stranger Things did this very well. Of like, everything flowed logically. Like you wouldn't just. It wasn't like, I don't know, a good example I think of all the time is American Werewolf in London. Like, 1 second you're in a living room and then you're in a subway. You know, like, there's no continuity between space. But that's the only way you could have adapted American Werewolf in London. Like, there was no continuous space. And that's kind of the thing with The Last of Us, is it really is an episodic adventure. Like, Joel and Ellie stop in multiple cities along the way, and something iconic kind of happens in each of those places. And the TV show, which I also fell in love with, I don't know if you watched it yet.
I haven't watched it
It's really
yet.
good. It's just believed the hype. I'm like, okay, it's really good. It's very good adaptation. It just, so much more happens than in that one. I feel like it was Philadelphia or something. I don't remember. So much happens, and I just feel like I think it was the creators of the game asked them to focus just on this one city. And maybe that's because they plan on doing another Last of Us house down the line. But I just think if we'd gotten more just kind of iconic moments, beat for beat, probably would have delivered a little better for me. I also think The Last of Us maybe would have worked better as a scare zone.
You're not wrong. It would be a fantastic scare zone.
I'm of the attitude, I don't really like zombie houses, but I do like zombie scare zones.
That's fair.
And I think they work really well in the New York area of the park.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think we had nearly enough Joel and Ellie.
I also feel like it was very hit or miss if I got any scares in that house. It felt like there were a lot of places that were like, they were nice sets to look at, but there wasn't anybody there for scares.
Yeah. Which I get is like, part of the feeling is like that isolation.
But it's a zombie
It is
story.
It's a
like
zombie.
I do kind of expect more in your face, sort of.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get ya.
The masks were great. The masks look really good. All the
Yes.
clicker masks look incredible. The bloaters.
Bloaters.
Oh my god, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful costume design, incredible. And I did as someone who like played the game, I really enjoyed seeing like the workbench, and I enjoyed seeing the generator. That was really cool. That reminded me of the Silent Hill and Resident Evil houses back in the day. So that like definitely felt like very like a little thing, a little nod. I just wanted more. I did the spore bathroom was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to just end it on like bad thoughts. Like there were things I really liked about the house.
Yeah.
I thought the spore bathroom was really cool. I thought the fire was really cool. The like burning building.
Oh, yeah.
And there was like also the zombies also had like I think it was the same
Yeah,
effect
they were like fried.
as the warlocks in Dueling Dragons had like the same kind of LED thing going on.
Might have worked better in The Last of Us.
Yeah. Can't fault you there. Got nothing to say in defense of that. But I liked that, and I liked the sewer with the bloater, the first bloater you see.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. But I also watched the Hollywood house, and like I don't know that I would say the sets were any better. I feel like the houses were evenly matched in terms of like execution, but I think what Hollywood did do better is they had more Joel and Ellie.
Yeah, that is another thing. I feel like it was very lacking in that for something that was so like advertised of like, oh, we got the people who do the voices of Joel and Ellie to like do the voiceovers for this house, and it's like there was like 3 lines.
Yeah, like literally, I think there were 3 lines, maybe 4 in the whole house,
Yeah.
in Florida anyway. And it's like, damn. But
And you only saw Ellie like once?
I think Ellie had 1 scare actor. I think Joel had 1 scare actor, and then
At least 2 for Joel, because he was on the roof.
oh, Joel did have 2. You're right. And then they had a projected shadow,
Yeah.
another projection. They had mannequins, which the mannequin ending.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
So anyway, it landed at number 8 for me, and number 13 overall. But that is not to say that I don't want video games to come back.
Yeah, no, I like I said, this is part of my list where I'm like, I enjoyed all these things.
Yeah, there's rumors that the video games that were rumored fell apart, and that is very sad to me for this coming season because I absolutely loved The Last of Us presence at the event.
Yeah.
Specifically, what I loved more than this house, that fucking Sting Alley food line. I got more of Last of Us vibes waiting in line for food. That's all. That's what I'll end this on. Moving down the... Did you have anything else to say about The Last of Us? No, I didn't think so. Moving down the line...
If I do, I'll let you know.
And this is really going to tip our hand. I'm so back and forth. But the next house is The Darkest Deal. Mm-hmm. Where did you have it?
This is my number 1 house.
This is also my number 1 house.
What?
I know.
What?
I was back and forth. Okay, I'm so torn. My top 2 houses, I think, are perfect, and I did not end my season on this house. I ended my season on the other house, on my number 2 house, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes.
I can't believe.
I know.
I can't believe.
Gaggy. So I have absolutely 0 negative notes about this house.
Same.
Nothing. And I have nothing negative to say about this house. I have like 1 negative thing to say about my number 2 house. And that came down. It was literally, that's what it came down to. Because I loved it. I don't even care. We'll spoil it. It came down to Darkest Deal and Oddfellow for me. Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
Maybe
still not even what I thought your first house was going to be.
Maybe we will spoil. I know. I won't spoil.
Maybe our top 3 are the same. We don't know each other's rankings yet.
We don't tell each other. On purpose. Yeah. Darkest Deal. The reason I gave The Darkest 2 the edge over my number 2 was that I didn't have a single negative thing to say about it, and that it was so fucking unique.
Yeah.
And Southern Gothic.
Yeah.
And just, I was really on this like Anne Rice, Southern Gothic, like Shirley Jackson kick for a second back in fall too. And so it was like, this was just really vibing with like all of the like deep South horror I was reading at the time. And I was just like, I fucking love this house. This is so good. The bridge, that forced perspective bridge, where the deal takes place, is so beautiful. The signature signing itself.
Yes. Amazing.
The screech that the first demonic form of the collector takes. It's like the very first scare right after they do the deal. It's like, and it's like horrifying, absolutely terrifying. The storytelling, like I just feel like everything worked.
Even that like one little turn where it's like literally you're just in a line turning around a post. I'm like, beautiful, amazing, because it's like a street sort of like facade, lovely.
Before the second club.
Yeah.
The
amazing. Parallels
of like, this is where he was performing at the beginning, and this is where he's performing at the end.
Yeah.
The like musician shadows on their graves, like the trumpet shadow, and then the scare with the trumpet, and it's like the ghost of that person, and then like just like the whole story of like, it had that Devil Went Down to Georgia, it had that that Crossroads thing going for it, and it just was so fucking cool. And I loved the look of the collector as a demon specifically. I thought he was just like very, I don't know, he looked like he could bite your head off.
Yeah.
Like huge mouth, loved him. I love that you go to hell in this story.
Yes.
I love the payoff. Okay, this is such a simple thing, but like the parallel of like the shitty dive bar at the beginning and then the like nicer blues bar at the end of the house, and like while Pine Straw is like getting his soul sucked out, you can see the collector like standing behind him, but the collector's shadow is a guy playing trumpet, as if like only we can see the collector, like he like only Pine Straw can see the collector. Like, that was like, there were layers. Good storytelling in a haunted house will get me every fucking time.
Every single time. And that's the thing, is like going into it, I was kind of hesitant about this house because I was like, it's such a unique premise. Like, if if they do it correctly, could be amazing, and it fucking was.
The dirt smell.
Yes.
I love when you you go into the graveyard, you end up underground in the dirt. You can see the tracks above you is really cool. And then you come back out and you're in the swamp bayou, and his mother's house is above you. Is that little ramshackle shack was so beautiful.
So beautiful. Also that scare where she's doing the laundry.
Yes.
And then that beast comes out from
Samhain.
behind
Yes.
the laundry that's on the clothesline.
Yes.
On my ass.
Every fucking time.
On my ass.
The town square that we were talking about, it just had a zombie. I feel like it was a graveyard game zombie that was in there. It one of the grinners, I think, from Graveyard Games, remember? Anyway, it was in that beautiful town square right before the final bar.
Yeah.
Amazing. The instruments stuck into the walls of hell.
Yeah.
And his final resting place there. So good.
So good.
I kept talking about it to other people all season. I feel like we talked about this too. I don't know if we did on camera, but this house and Oddfellow felt like siblings.
Yeah.
They both were about a Faustian deal gone wrong. They both end with your soul being taken away and you going to some other dimension, be it hell or the Zodiac dimension. They both are set in the 1920s. They both have a person of color, actually a black guy, kind of at the front and center of each story. They just, I love the Dust Bowl 1920s, 1930s era of American history as it is. And these two literally, they just felt I just felt engrossed in that world, just the two of them next to each other. And that doesn't happen often, but the way that those spaces played off of each other, I just felt very engrossed in that world, if that makes sense.
It does, yes.
Which, of course, brings us to our next house, Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins.
I have this ranked as number 2.
I also had this ranked at number 2. This very nearly was my number 1. And I would say on closing night it was, but with time to sit and think about it, I pushed it to number 2.
I will say, I feel for most of the season, Darkest Steel and Dr. Oddfellow were consistently going back and forth for me, just depending on the run I had that night.
I cannot believe a circus carnival house is in my number, my top 3 at all. Mind-boggling. I just out of curiosity, I had this at number 10 overall and number 7 for houses for hype. This came up a ton for me. The facade at night, or just at dusk, with the tent stripes projected onto the tent, magical.
Yeah.
We both read Something Wicked This Way Comes also, right
Yeah,
around then,
we
and
did.
that really...
It absolutely helped with being in a place for this house for sure.
The lead up with the just hearing the Dr. Oddfellow Barker at over the sound system kind of as you're walking up to it, that kind of hurry kind of thing, the Jack Wanted poster were amazing. I just you genuinely felt like you were it was after hours, you weren't supposed to be there and you were sneaking in. I don't know, just something about it really hit. And then the inside, it just felt like what an icon house is supposed to feel like, which is you do not need to know anything. It's an evil circus. But if you want to know shit, good God, is there a lot to unpack and uncover. And I love that it all felt like Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And sure, that is in direct contrast with Darkest Steel, where it's a story.
Yes.
But I think that works because there's too much lore.
Even if you don't know all of those Easter eggs, you do still get a story with Dr. Oddfellow, just as Dr. Oddfellow.
I love that even his costume is a little different in the house. It's more of an actual ringmaster.
Yeah.
That was really cool to me. The Jack Easter egg specifically, Like there's like that silhouette of Jack when you walk in, or his costume hanging on the costume rack was really cool. Him getting murdered, obviously, was really cool. I thought all of that was great, just in terms of like story happening in the background, because of course this is a really complex like origin when you really think about it. Like you get down, like we had to do retcons, we had to do all this other shit, you got to know all this other information. This is a perfect example of like, this would be too much to try to explain in a haunted house, but I think they did it beautifully.
Yeah.
I also think the way that the Zodiac is represented in this haunted house was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like the characters of the Zodiac all appear over the course of the house. Like I think Pisces is the dunk tank, and then like you have Leo is literally a lion, which first of all, love that the Nightingale's lion came back. The Taurus is the Minotaur ballerina. Like little things like that I thought were spectacular. It really kind of just ties the whole event and its aesthetic together. And then it was beautiful. It was just really beautiful. And it had me thinking about there was also a circus house at Hollow Scream this year. I can't think of the name. D.H. Bagham's Circus of Fear at Hollow Scream, also amazing circus house this year. Mind-blowing. The lead up to shooting this week, I like felt compelled to rewatch American Horror Story Freak Show. Still a huge fucking mess. But the aesthetics, I'm like really, I was just feeling it. I'm really feeling the like Oddfellow moment again. We're about to officially shift gears into a new era, and I'm just like really, I don't know, back in it, I guess. And this house felt like what the Freak Show segment of the American Horror Story house felt like.
Oh,
Drawn.
Yeah, no, you're correct. I completely agree with that.
Because I do think this season of the show is actually a huge fucking mess, but the
condensed version in the haunted house was good.
Was excellent, and this was even better, honestly. And there was so much. That finale in Oddfellow's caravan cart, where like he would cast the spell and everything would turn green, beautiful. The only note I had was the Zodiac realm at the end. It was just kind of whatever, and that is why
it's number 2.
It's number 2. Yeah. I did have a story on closing night. This was the house I decided to close the event on. I decided to make this my last house, and for the very last set, the Oddfellow actor, the main Oddfellow actor, was greeting at the outdoor section of the house right before you walked into the house proper, and that was really cool. Like, I was walking up and like I saw him like getting into position. Like they stopped the line and they had like they were escorting him over there, and it was just like, I made the right choice. Because even though at the end of the day, I think I did like Darkest Deal better, this house, it was like the culmination of what a good event I felt like this was overall.
It's also like the first original like icon house we've had since I've started going, because I feel like every single like icon. Oh, well.
Easy to forget
that one.
Easy to forget Lunatic's Playground.
Ew.
It's the best icon house we've had since probably Silver Screams.
I've started going, for sure.
In 2009. Dead ass.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Because everything else has been just kind of like here's flashbacks to what's happened in the past.
Yeah. It was really special. And
yeah.
I was surprised at just how endeared I was to it, given how little I cared about doing another circus house when we were in like hype season.
Yeah.
And just how quickly I ate my words, and I was like, this was so fucking good.
It was really good. And it felt also kind of similar to Puppet Theater.
I agree.
And that it was like this like twisted backstage.
Yes.
I liked that part of it as well.
The specifically the green room with the like costumes on the walls and those like mannequin
that heads would turn.
So good. So
and then
creepy.
Somebody would like come out of the clothes. Like, I feel like I only got that scare one time. I had gone through the house multiple times at that point, and when I got that scare, I was like trying to run out the wrong way. I
also lived for the headless scare. It was like a magic trick. Like they cut the guy's head off and then the body walked forward.
Yeah.
I loved that scare.
Yeah.
just so many good. It also had some gross out factors, like the knife throwing scene was very gory and gross.
Or like the
head
putting the contortionist in the box.
Yes. So it was great.
That was like another one where it's like this kind of it wasn't huge because it was a tent house, but like it gives you this sort of like grand facade like in the middle of a house. Like there was just a lot of those this year.
And to think that like this coming season, yes, we lost the 2 parade buildings, but the 2 tents they've built are bigger than the current tents. And so we are getting 4 tent houses, but like I'm very curious how these new tents can, like, if they have even like more sense of scale on the inside, like that would be really cool to me.
And like I've never felt like the tent houses have lacked anything. I've always enjoyed tent houses, but
they have this weird reputation with people as if they're like bad houses, and it's like I don't think we've had a bad tent houses were bad since like 2000, like since the aughts. I don't know, like a long time.
Some of my favorite houses have been tent houses.
Almost every year I am madly in love with at least one of them.
Yeah.
And this year I loved both of them. My 2 favorite houses were tent houses.
Yeah.
So yeah, tents always honestly just it's because they're claustrophobic. And so it's like I feel like they're always jam-packed with detail.
And scares.
And
because like I said, like story definitely I think is like top tier, but if it's story and scary, there's no beating it.
The 2 tents this year, I think we already know because they were I saw it on the Twitter today. The museum, someone got a photo of the facade from within the animal active stage. You can see it. And it is, the museum is going where Darkest Deal was, and Slaughter Cinema 2 is where Oddfellow was, and also Slaughter Cinema 1. So.
Okay.
Interesting. Very curious about that museum. But we'll discuss that eventually. For instances of voice acting in this house that I thought was top tier. Some of the like, yes, they're triggered scares, but like the "Welcome to Oddfellows." Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the like clown voices.
That like last like yeah.
Yeah,
I like felt it when you did that last little bit.
Really good voice acting in this house that I really lived for. We've been rambling about this house for a long time because it was great. Same with The Darkest Deal, top 2 of the season. But we've got more to come, and we still haven't talked about our least favorite house. We haven't talked about any of the sound stages, so stay tuned. We may have given away our top 2, but there is more to come and lots of opinions. Some hot takes.
Next up on our journey is Nightmare Fuel.
Revenge Dream.
It was my number 14.
I had it at number 12.
They did change it a smidge.
It is, if you've been paying attention, actually directly above The Last of Us, and the reason I gave it that little bit of an edge was that, I mean, it's objectively good. You know, like, there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it. I've just, seen it 3 years in a row.
What I will give it, I like that there was more of a story.
There was more
and there
of
were
a story.
stakes.
Yeah.
I liked that the queen, I liked all that. I liked the female protagonist. To quote Bianca Del Rio, reveal in French means take the shit off. That her tracksuit that she's wearing the whole show while everyone else is in bondage gear, like, it drives me crazy. I rewatched the show. I literally sat through a POV of the show, watched it again. I was like, it's just so obvious that there's a reveal. Like, get to the point. Take the shit off. And of course, there's like a cunty little like dominatrix outfit underneath it. I'm like, I just don't care. And I get it. Like, it's story reasons. I don't know. Whatever. I did not love the costume she's wearing for 99% of the show, though. It's a tracksuit. And I'm like, man, everybody else is like serving down, like, ferocity, fierce. And then she's in a tracksuit. Am I rambling?
A little bit. I mean, I get it story-wise, so it's like...
I liked her cunty outfit at the end. I thought that was cool.
I get wanting to see that more, but like...
Yeah.
I'm
also like I'm not like horny for it. I just think it's a like...
Dakota, you're not horny for a female in bondage?
I just think it's a much cooler costume. I will say, I think the appeal of these shows is definitely the dancing. The fire, I'm really not into it. It's hot. We live in Florida.
Yeah, honestly, I could go with more dancing and less fire.
I get that like they wanted to do something to differentiate it from the dance troupe that shall not be named. What I will give the dance troupe that shall not be named their props for was they had good story and they had great sets. And I still don't care about the set for the show. It changes minimally. It's mostly chain link fence and steel.
Agreed.
Fire dancers are always really cool. Oh, the fire whip dude. Goddamn. I drew the looking emoji in my notes. The queen is cunt KVNT. I love that like the bed magic trick, it always is like a little trans-coded for whatever fucking reason. Love that. Otherwise, it's the same show, and that's kind of all I have to say about it. It's good. I couldn't morally put it any higher than I did. I was shocked that it displaced as many attractions as it did, honestly, for me. So coming up next, we have another scare zone at long last. It's been a hot minute. Shipyard 32, Horrors Unhinged. Lauren, tell me about Shipyard.
It was boxes, and I have it at number 16.
It was boxes. This zone made it at number 11 for me. And let me tell you why. Honestly, scare actors. It was just the cast was really delivering for me pretty much every time I walked through.
It's because there was a tooth fairy.
There was a tooth fairy, but actually the top of my notes, almost in all caps, but written very large, Patricia! Patricia was so severe. She was so fierce. I lived. Patricia.
I will say that they were doing a cash change. I feel like it was the last night. They were doing a cash change, and Patricia walked past me and like hit me with a wing. That shit hurt.
I bet.
I was like, I was not expecting it to hurt that bad.
Damn. It's funny because I don't even think Patricia is necessary. She's not a new costume. I feel like she's from like about 10 years ago.
I've definitely seen it before.
But she got a new identity.
She got the meme fame.
Yeah, and good for her. And what a name. Love her. I said this feels a little bit like Hellblock, and that, you know, it's just kind of an excuse to reuse old costumes, and felt like it was on a budget. Boxes.
Yeah.
What I did like, the crane was really cool.
It was cool.
And the crash box was really cool. And the monsters they chose, I think for the most part, were like not monsters we see all the fucking time. Like, I liked that we had Skulder from The Spawning, and we had a tooth fairy, and we had another fairy in the cage. I like that we had the Nosferatu type vampire from.
Did they have tooth fairies in Hellblock?
They did have tooth fairies in Hellblock.
So I'm just saying.
I mean,
it's only been 2 years since Tooth Fairy, and they've already had it.
That's fair.
Returned
fine.
twice.
I mean, it was but the tooth fairy in Hellblock, it was like painted black and had like day glow on it. It was a little different. I don't know. Seeing one like getting to run around and be in its little nightgown. I feel like its mask got painted better because it was in a street. Obviously, I loved the tooth fairy. This zone also, I had it at. This was number 3 for the zones for me.
This was number 5 for me.
I thought I would put it low, and then I was looking at it, and I was like, honestly, the cast is really delivering.
The cast was delivering. Like, no fault of the cast. It's just that, like, I wanted more. And that's why Collection made it a bit higher, because at least it had, like, some sort of, like, show entertainment thing, whereas this one is just characters.
I do agree. I think the name was also very weak. I don't need the year's number just haphazardly thrown in, but what I appreciated was just that, like, from a story perspective, the icon shipping in all of these monsters from around the world, and we already saw one of his global adventures. I was like, I buy this as a story. I think it honestly works more organically than I think the prison for monsters.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So with that regard, I was like, I do like that at least. I don't love the integration of Oddfellow though. In this zone, he is in disguise, and he's like, it was like kind of a wolfman monkey monster with like a scar on his face, and I would have rather just seen like Dr. Oddfellow like working in the shipyard.
Yeah, I don't think that there was any reason why Dr. Oddfellow couldn't have been there. And like, what was the year for this zone?
This was, I think, supposed to be the
50s?
30s or 40s, maybe.
What was the?
I think every decade got covered. I feel like the 20s was in the jungle, and then the Darkest Deal I think Darkest Deal and Oddfellow were both set in the 30s. I think this was the 40s, and then the 50s was Yeti, 60s was Vamp, and then I don't know. Maybe it stops. But I wish he had been integrated into the zone a little bit better. And I wish that he could have been working the crane, would have been really cool.
It would have been more interesting to see Oddfellow changing throughout the decades as Oddfellow.
Exactly. And instead, because it's like we don't see him transformed in the other zones. He's not in Dark Zodiac. He is in Jungle of Doom, and I think just to spoil the discussion about the vampire Oddfellow, I think that one really works. At least, his outfit kind of looks like Oddfellow. He has an afro. He's a vampire, but it's like, at least I'm like, okay, I didn't really need the shapeshifter element because you didn't really do enough with it to make it work. Yeah. He's only shapeshifted in this zone. Technically, he's shapeshifted as a vampire, but he already has sharp teeth anyway, so he could have just been Oddfellow. I don't know. That doesn't work for me, and that is one of my biggest problems actually with this zone. Beyond the budget problems, I wish Oddfellow had been integrated better. I will say I think San Francisco is starting to learn its lesson about how to do a San Francisco zone. I think it was wise to not put any stages there. That I think is one of the big problems with all of the past zones that have been in San Francisco, be it Crypt TV, there was all those giant stages, it's extremely cramped.
Yeah, but I liked
Conjure the Dark. I liked the zone. I just didn't think the stage was necessary.
But I liked Rob Zombie. I was like, what the fuck is this man's name?
I liked Rob Zombie. It was just very crowded.
Yeah, but like that was okay. Like, I don't know. It felt okay in that zone, but it felt overcrowded with Crypt TV.
And so I guess what I was going to say is that I feel that the lesson that's been learned with both Central Park and San Francisco is more cave-like things to stick scare actors inside of for a boot hole, like a makeshift boot hole. I think that's really just the way to do a zone here, is to just be scare-focused, keep people moving and not really stopping and hanging out. And because, at the end of the day, they are the two tightest kind of walkways in the park.
Yeah.
Just observations. Otherwise, Shipyard, not super impressive. It's kind of on the half of my list that I'm just kind of like, eh. I had problems, but, I liked it.
Ooh, are we on to everybody's favorite?
I think we are.
So our next house is Chucky, Ultimate Kill Count.
Well, Lauren, I think we have it at the same spot. I would be shocked if we don't.
17?
It is my number 17. 10 of 10 houses, 17 of 17 attractions.
Correct. Yeah. One pro for this house was the Q video.
Okay.
But I am worried that Universal is going to take people's dislike for this house as like a fault of the Q video not explaining the premise story and not that it's just a bad house.
Yes.
Like, I understand the premise watching the Q video, but like it wasn't good.
I had another pro. The puppets were cool. I just want to say, it is so hot. We have no AC on the set. These lights are burning hot. We're half wearing our costumes because it is so hot. My makeup is melting off. And the camera died, and we recorded like 15 minutes of footage. So we're going to quickly recap our thoughts on Chucky and also Vamp 69 because, good God, we said a lot. And it is lost to time.
But we did record the audio.
We did record the audio, so if there's something useful, maybe we'll see. But Chucky, I was in the middle of saying that as a pro, I did like that the outdoor staircase, had been better utilized by putting an actor there, putting more set dressing along the wall, and actually building a second facade for the second half of the house. I appreciated that. And that's about where the pros end. This house was bad.
It was bad.
This house
was flat.
Very flat. I think that's the thing is, it's like everybody was like the defenders, which, I mean, good for you. If you like the house, I'm happy for you. I don't agree. And I don't see what you see apparently, and you don't see what I see, but I'm going to tell you what I see. And that is very flat sets. And I understand it's shitty to be shitty. But if it's shitty, it's shitty. And the vinyl decals are my mortal enemy in any high price setting, high theater production, whatever the fuck. I hate them. I think they're ugly. And I think the flat sets look really bad. I think there's just this sort of disconnect between like what's going on with the action of the house, all of the kills, and like the meta narrative, which fails. I could not tell you. I think that you were saying that you thought the Q video was very effective, and I agree.
I mean, I don't think the Q video is effective.
I think it's a good Q video.
It is a good video. It tells you the premise of the house of like, hey, we've created this haunted house and it's based on Chucky, and but then, you know, Chucky takes over. But it's like I feel like the bad like the not real Chucky haunted house is like those big Chuckies. Like,
okay, because we were saying in the footage that you didn't get to see is that first I feel very, very deeply invested in Halloween Horror Nights, and yet I could not tell you the part of the house that was the real haunted house and the part of that was supposed to be the like the real Chucky's killing us now. Like, I could not tell you. It was all indiscernibly bad. And
it was very weirdly mixed in with scenes from the TV show and movies. Like,
yeah, they
were just randomly just like sprinkled in, and it felt very disconnected.
Something I didn't say earlier, but now I'm thinking about it, is, you know, they did another house that was kind of the same concept back in 2006. It was called Dungeon of Terror Retold. It was a reference to the original Halloween Horror Nights Haunted House, the first, but it was hosted by the storyteller. And the concept was that it was an old roadside attraction, a shitty roadside attraction. Very similar concept. But how they executed this was that when you were on stage, the haunted house was like all done in blacklight and like day glow, and it was like airbrushed sets and like flat wood panels and like people in silly Halloween masks. And then you would, Dark Ride at Knott's does this really well too. And then you would go backstage, it's still the haunted house, and it would look different. It was like properly decorated, like real sets. It felt like you were in a real space. And so there was this like very clear separation between the fake haunted house and like the real violence or whatever. And this house doesn't have that. It's just completely unclear. So everything looks bad. And so I don't see how you could possibly fall back on this argument that it's shitty on purpose when I feel like it's just shitty. It's just not a good house.
Yeah, it doesn't really, like you said, it does not break apart the meta versus, you know, it doesn't execute it well.
Yeah, the house within a house concept is not delivering. And
it seems, yeah, and it could be so amazing. Like, even just like Phantom of the Opera of like your point of view. Like, I'm looking out into the audience versus like, hey, I'm backstage now.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that they could have done to like really like make a difference.
Imagine if they had put you in the backstage area of a boo hole that scares a different part of the house. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It's bad.
It wouldn't work because the line would stop moving.
The line would stop moving. But I'm just saying, like...
But it would be cool.
There's...
You both get scared.
The house
it just drops on its own.
The house doesn't work. The house doesn't work. The core concept of the house doesn't work. The aesthetic is horrible. And I'm going to say something a bit controversial. Despite the fact that I love the puppets, I actually think the guys in Chucky costumes, like the little short girls that they put in the Chucky costumes from the 2009 house, worked better. Like, that house, you shrunk down to toy size. I don't know. I loved the 2009 house. I loved the evil toys come to life idea. I loved that they kind of expanded on that in the 2018 Scare Zone. I did not love Chucky's one-on-one interaction with people in that zone, but I did love everything else. The Twisted Toys was really cool. I think that was a great idea to add an original house, original Scare Zone element to an IP. This also had that original house vibe to it, but I just don't think it's executed well at all. And I think that comes down to I don't think the creative team was interested in making this house. I feel like they got handed it and they said low priority, focus on the shit that we're known for. If this, whatever attention we give this is going to be the pocket change, and it showed. And maybe that's a disservice I mean, we're Chucky fans, and I felt cheated by that. Like, this didn't end up super high, even on my hype list, but I'm kind of gagged. You were saying this, I mean, like, this is your first time having a Chucky house, and you love Chucky.
I love Chucky, and this is the first Chucky house that I've gotten to experience, and so it was very disappointing.
This house was so bad. I was saying it derailed my watching of season 2. Like, I was trying to watch season 2. I was getting back into the show. I'd kind of fallen off, just like life. And then I was just like, I don't even want to. Like, I don't, like, that it had me scoffing at something I like is just like, ugh, God. That's the power of a bad Halloween Horror Nights IP house, truly. I think Walking Dead did that to me, too.
Oh, that makes sense, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was more fatigue, but Chucky, I honestly, I don't have anything else to say about fucking Chucky. It was bad. It was, like, truly one of the worst houses, I would say, the last, like, 5 years. It was really bad. This is bottom tier. You're probably, when we get back to ranking the houses again, probably gonna be talking about Chucky very soon.
Well, I don't think we're ranking them the way you're ranking them before.
That's true.
So, we'll see.
We'll see.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We're TBA. What that does bring us to our 5th and final Scare Zone of the season. Third part in what is so far a trilogy, but I think we'll be coming back again and again, honestly. Lauren, tell me about Vamp 69, Summer of Blood.
I had Vamp 69 at number 8 overall. It was also 8 on my hype list. And it is my second Scare Zone.
Vamp landed at number 14 overall for me, and number 4 for my Scare Zone. This is my second to last Scare Zone. And it actually did not move. This was the exact same spot I had it on my hype list. It landed exactly where I expected it to, weirdly
I'm glad
enough.
that we knew where we thought Vamp would go.
It just,
and it delivered for each of us what it should have.
I feel like the general consensus we had going in was, I'm not that wild about this concept. Been there, done that. But I know it will probably deliver what I expect from it. And it did. It met my expectations. It was objectively good.
Yeah.
It was just
a party zone, like it's like the hangout zone.
It was the hangout zone. I don't really vibe with like hippie aesthetics, but I liked the colors. I do like a colorful Scare Zone. I love camp, and it was camp. That's the thing Vamp always delivers is camp.
I feel like it had really good character interactions. So I feel like the characters interacting with each other and with like guests in the street was great.
I think that's generally true of any time you have both like aggressors characters and like victims characters. You always get like really good like cast to cast interactions that like make for good show. And I definitely saw that here. Especially like you would have the vampires that were like hippie dancing up on the platforms, and then like you would have like the humans with like their frying pans like sneaking around the corner, and then like the like dancer would usually distract you as like or the performer, they would distract the human performers as like more vampires would swarm them and like feed on them. I thought that was really cool. And it's not a new technique. They've done that with the other vamp zones, but it's good every time they do it, and I'm always happy. I love vampires, so like I'm never gonna like give a bad review to a vamp zone. I am tired of the silly comedy vampires. Like I do think of the vamp zones as being comedy, more comedy, funny, silly, irreverent than scary. So I would like to see something more in the vein, maybe going forward, of like Hive or Castle Vampire or something like that. But like this is, that was good. How'd you feel about the music?
Ba ba ba.
I don't like 60s music really. I liked Age of Aquaria, whatever. I liked that we had the Dr. Oddfellow Zodiac theme in there with that song. I liked Oddfellow. We talked about him already, but I liked that Oddfellow was in the zone. Thought that was made more sense than how he's presented in Shipyard. I really don't like 60s music, so the music. Oh, I also, there's this one scream.
Oh, yeah.
That they use.
We're good. We don't even need to talk about it. I feel like everybody knows.
Everyone knows that scream, and I'm so sick of it. Cut it. Get rid of it. I'm done. It's not iconic. It's just annoying. It's time for it to go. It's time for it to kill.
It's not scary. It's just annoying.
It doesn't sound real. Like, there are fake screams in the soundtrack that I would not realize are fake, but that one in particular, we all know.
It's so bad.
It's violently terrible. It's time for it to die, I think. Yeah, Vamp 69. Speaking of Vamp 69, there was an attraction in this scare zone, and
tell me about it, Dakota.
that would be the Tribute Comic Store, the Tribute Comic Book Store, the Tribute Store. We decided in our Hype episode, if you are new to the show, you would have missed this, but we've decided to include the Tribute Store in our ranking of Halloween Horror Nights attractions because the Halloween Horror Nights version in particular has really become an attraction in and of itself, and this one especially, honestly. I mean, this was so unique. It had its own comic book that you could buy. I thought that was really cool. So Lauren, I'm curious to hear, where did you place the Tribute Store on your list?
I put it at number 13.
Okay.
And I think it's there because it was always very crowded going to the store, and I never really got to like spend time in there and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit lower for me. I also was trying really hard to not spend a lot of money this year because the prices of everything have gone up so much. So yeah, so I was like, one, I don't want to go in there and see all the stuff I can't buy.
Yeah.
Two, it's too crowded to like enjoy the space.
Yeah. What I will say about the space is that you really don't get to appreciate the Tribute Store until a few weeks have gone by and the initial like insane rush of it has kind of worn off. I had the Tribute Store on my hype list at number 9. I didn't really have any rhyme or reason. I feel like I was like, yeah, you know, I'm interested in what they're doing. It landed, I put it at number 5.
Wow.
I was so impressed by the Tribute Store this year.
Yeah, I was freaking impressed by it.
I
just didn't get to enjoy it and like get all the like little nuances, so that's why it's where it's at for me.
I just want to show you my notes for Vamp 69, half a page. My notes for the tribute store, 2 pages. I had so much to say about it, and I'm gonna try and keep it together.
The floor is yours.
Love the comic. I think the comic book is the coolest piece of merch they have ever created for Halloween Horror Nights. I love that it was a tribute to all of the fake comic books they have created in the past for Halloween Horror Nights that did not have any pages, or did. I loved the facade. I loved all of the Easter eggs within it. I think the visual merchandising department is knocking it out of the goddamn park. I thought just going in and seeing the comic book rack with all of the like fake like ultra-violent comics and all the Boris Schuster books, all of those on a rack. That, like, sure, you couldn't like lift them off; they were, you know, stationary. But like, that was just like this wild and crazy full circle moment that I was like, this is so cool. And then the fact that they created an icon for the tribute store with the curator. And he's sort of this hybrid of the Crypt Keeper and the Creep from Creepshow. And I was just completely gagged by that. He's inserted into all of the stories. Each room being a new story was so cool, and a new art style. That blew my mind. And then...
projections.
So many projections. So many projections. Honestly, I loved that when you walked into the thing, it was like the comic had been blown up to big size, and then it was like ripped, and you walked through the rip, and you were no longer in the comic book store, but you were in the comic book. Excellent. The fact that you could buy a comic book of these comics, amazing. The graveyard first room, it was cool. It wasn't anything special. The star of the show was the Boris Schuster room, though. And the fact that it felt like Dead Exposure. It felt like Sin City. The projections of the raindrops on the fucking floor. Are you kidding me? The fact that it added to the lore of what is now considered an iconic level character. Like, we learned he has a brother. Like, big lore drop in a store. Crazy. I loved the Finnegan sign in black and white with the Boris Schuster cutout, like, facing the big Cthulhu monster. I thought was so cool. The office was amazing. Like, this one room is what put this fucking store in my top 5 attractions of the season. And my partner and I, we like go out of the way. Like, we drove up for summer. We didn't even really care about seeing the DreamWorks shit this summer. We just wanted to see the summer tribute store. And that's like, I get so excited about the tribute stores in general. I think they're so fun. They feel like mini haunted houses. And the ones they do for Horror Nights, I mean, there's a reason they give it the bigger space in the Mummy extended queue, where the rest of them are now on Hollywood Boulevard. It like deserves it. And I loved the diner set. I thought that the way that they the podcast talked about it, that they, rather than wanting to implement IP in each room, they're trying to instead have each room themed to just something kind of broad, where they can, like, kind of, as the merchandise, you know, the inventory kind of starts to slip, they don't have to, like, oh no, there's no more Stranger Things merchandise for the Stranger Things room. I think that's so smart. And that, like, for the room that always has the snacks in it, it was a diner, and it had a yellow color scheme so they could put the Chucky merchandise in there. All of that I thought was so freaking cool. And just the art style in general, I don't know, it was just so satisfying. Like, everything about it just, like, it felt like an attraction. It felt like something new and exciting. I had to get at least one copy of the comic book. I know other people got all of the variants. This was like a real achievement for me. And the fact that, like, there's a promise of more story with this Boris Schuster thing, even if we never see a haunted house, I thought was really cool. I don't know. The tribute store this year really just knocked it out of the park for me. Even that last room, it felt very, funny enough, we're reading this for a book club, it felt like From Hell. It was a Jack the Ripper room. It was like in this old expressionist art style. Just I have nothing but, like, high praise for this. And yes, it was insane. Every night it was crowded. It was horrible. I also did not buy a lot of merchandise this year. I've had a shift. My new attitude is, I've been looking. I have a lot of shit. I buy a lot of things. I'm a very spend happy person. I am tired of like buying something that I only got serotonin for in the store. And I've started to ask myself, am I getting the maximum amount of serotonin this will ever give me right now? I can leave it. And that saved me so much money at Halloween Horror Nights this year.
Yeah.
I bought, I think, 2 t-shirts. I bought the event shirt and I bought an Oddfellow shirt. I bought the Oddfellow bag and I bought the comic book.
I bought the comic book, the Oddfellow shirt, and the house shirt, but I also only bought the house shirt and the Oddfellow shirt on the like last night, so it was like stupid cheap. And then yeah, I don't know. I'm in this thing where it's like maybe I'll just like make my own stuff.
Yeah, make something like this. I mean, okay, like if you've noticed yet, I've been drinking out of this absolutely lovely. Lauren, you made this one too as well, right?
What?
You also made this one?
No,
You
my
did not make that.
friend bought this
Someone
for
made
me,
that
yeah.
one. Okay. Lauren made this cup for me because she knows how much I love. We'll get to it. But like, this is honestly the best piece of Horror Nights merchandise I got this year. And Lauren made it, and it was this lovely Dueling Dragons cup, and it's sculpted, and it's resin, and yeah, wonderful. And of course I was going to drink out of it tonight. I did buy one other piece of merch. I bought that cat purse, but that was really cute. That was a really cute bag.
That's right. It's just like some of the stuff I'm like, I don't even have the money. Like, it's like we are in Tampa, so we have to pay for a hotel for opening night, and then we have to drive up every week, and then it's just too much.
And then we eat and we drink and we spend probably
Friggin'
$40 to $60 on alcohol a night.
Yeah, minimum.
So it's like merchandise has really taken a back seat for me, and so I've become a lot more selective about what I'm gonna buy when I'm at Halloween Horror Nights. And that's a tangent about the merchandise. The merchandise was very nice this year, but I didn't really care about it that much. I was much more impressed by the tribute store itself, like just going in the store. I really just wanted to be in there to be in there, and I felt that way about the one last year too, with the dark ride.
Oh,
it was so cool.
It was so
and the
cool.
haunted house the year before that, also really cool.
That was also really cool, but I really did like the merchandise last year and the year before maybe a little bit better.
I would agree with that. I don't like
Minus-
any of the merchandise this year so far.
We'll see.
That's not true.
Maybe they're saving all the good stuff for the actual store.
We'll see. Honestly, we're gonna find out really fucking soon. Like a month and a half.
It's okay. I got a new job. I can afford it now.
When you're watching this, probably tomorrow. It's probably this week. But yeah, the tribute store, I was extremely impressed this year, and I truly made excuses to go back because I was so just in love with it. I wanted to just spend time in there, and that's how I felt about it the year before too with the dark ride. I would just make excuses to go into the tribute store. Anytime someone new was there, I was like, we have to go to the tribute store. And I look forward to seeing what it is this year. It could be a sequel to this. I wouldn't even mind. All right, we have run through the tribute store. We've been through all of the show. We've been through all of the scare zones. We have 5 houses left. Coming in next, Yeti, Campground Kills.
Bum bum bum. It was my number 7 overall and my number 6 house.
Yeti was number 6 overall for me and my number 4 house. I was really back and forth on this and 2 other houses, but I ultimately was like, I think this house delivered what I wanted Yeti to deliver the first time.
That's fair.
I love the 50s campsite aesthetic.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
There were so many fun little moments. Just the tents and the like guy getting pulled into the tent was really fun. Mm-hmm. I love the payoff with the mom looking for her son, Billy, and then he's like poking the dead baby and gets eaten. I love the setup and payoff of that. I love the look of this house. It just felt like you were in the woods. Like very hard to achieve indoor for outdoor, and this house did it really well. This house to me felt like if you had taken all of the Yetis out and replaced them with Jason Voorhees, you would have had a perfect Jason house.
That's a fair assessment.
Like,
damn.
And it's like I came to that, I don't know, somewhere late in the season. I was like, now hold on now.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and that made me love it even more. I loved HHN Bear. It was beautiful, despite being quite camp. I don't know. What did you think?
I really liked it, and I mean, it wasn't that scary, so I think that negatively impacts it for me personally, because I love a scary house. But it was fun. And there was like one scare in particular that got me, and then it like disappeared for like the end of the season.
Was it the toilet snake?
No, it was the arm.
Oh.
On the roof.
Yes.
I was like that.
It was like right by the canoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like come around, like you had just seen, I think, like the bodies floating in the water, and you come around. Yeah. And it's just like.
I love those bodies too. Very like La Llorona. Love that.
So that scare got me the first time we went through that house, like really good.
I also lived for the like collapsed ceiling room. Did we talk about that? It was not long after that. You go into this. It was right before the bear, and it was like you were in the first floor, but the second floor had caved in, and you could see the upstairs. It was really pretty. It's towards the end of the house.
It's not connecting for me.
They've done that kind of thing before. They did in like Scarecrow and some other houses, but it was really cool, and I really liked that. I will agree this house wasn't very scary, but when a house isn't scary, if it makes up for it with camp and comedy, that will even it out for me. And I felt like this house had plenty of like that redneck silliness and camp.
The trailer like face on the window, yes. I did really enjoy that.
I loved that. I loved the that lady who's like they're like it was for prepping for like a birthday party or something.
She's like got the curlers in her hair.
I also
grandma nightgown.
Yes. I loved the actual watchtower, even though you only got to see it for like a second. I thought that was really cool. And the fact that they did the same ending for the like third time in a row. That the very last scene in the house is the same scene that was the very last scene of the previous Yeti house, and they were both a recreation of the Swamp Yeti scene from Slaughter Cinema 2. Or from Slaughter Cinema 1, not 2. I get it. I wasn't crazy about Terror of the Yukon, but I liked it, and I really, really liked Campground Kills. I feel like it delivered on what I wanted Terror of the Yukon to be, which is like more irreverent than necessarily like terrifying. I also liked that the Yetis, we got more designs for them, so there was just more Yetis to love. So more Yeti, the Betty.
She's tired. Her body is
baby,
shutting down.
I am tired as fuck too. And we gonna move on to the very next house. What is it?
Dueling Dragons. Choose thy fate.
This landed at number 3 for me.
This landed at number 3 for me.
It was obviously my number 1 most hyped, and
same.
I was disappointed with some things, which is why it's number 3.
Yeah.
But I still loved it.
The LED screen on the chest.
The LED screens on the chest. Honestly, the whole look of the Warlocks. I didn't like the costumes really for either of them. I will give Blizzrock his pointy cowl thing, his spiky cowl. That was cooler, but I think they both looked very...
I'm gonna put that up there.
Simple. But I also felt like this house had like the vibe of an 80s dark fantasy movie.
Yeah.
More so than like an actual, like the ride. So I like kind of want to give it some of that. I thought the chest LEDs were completely unnecessary.
And
but I thought
just like... and they looked better on Blizzrock than they did High Rock because it looked too like pixely.
They looked like those backpacks that like play music and have LED screens on them and like show the that
soundbar.
The soundbar, yeah. That's what they looked like to me, and I did not like that
Correct,
at all.
yeah.
So that was a loss. I also, as much as I love the grand reveal of the 2 dragons on the top of the building, I wish there was more dragons. I wish we had like just their heads as puppets or something. I wish there was just more dragon action happening in this house. So that's the biggest letdown, I think, for me about the house, actually, is that there is not enough of the namesake represented in the house. So that's too bad, and I get that it's a budget thing. I get that the house was rumored to have been initially planned to possibly be like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing, and that possibly fell through. Who knows if that's true. We were hearing about Dueling Dragons, though, as early as like February, so the house was Dueling Dragons, and it felt like Dueling Dragons. I loved the facade. I loved the narration. I loved going into the Enchanted Oak again. I thought that was amazing. I loved the forest. The facade, the mid-house facade of the castle was incredible. Obviously, the third mid-house facade of the dragons was amazing.
Yeah.
All of the like recreations of moments from the queue were amazing. The frozen night room. There's so much good about this house. Like I could just rave about it. It really came down to like if Oddfellow and Darkest Deal hadn't just been fucking phenomenal, this probably still would have been my favorite house. And even despite its goofiness and its problems, I just loved it so much. Full bias. I don't give a shit. Like, I loved it.
Yeah, it was good. It was just fun.
Yeah.
And there were so many different elements. Like, you had, like, the fairies and, like, the trolls and...
The trolls were so cool.
Yeah.
Like, they were... They also teetered on that line of almost camp.
Oh.
And I think
teetered?
that's... Yeah. And the whole house, it felt like if Neverending Story and Legend and, like, all these other, like Conan and all these 80s fantasy movies had a baby with one of my favorite rides from ever. It was so cool, and just like such a unique house that will... I don't want to say never gonna have something ever like this again. I like Poseidon. When are we getting Poseidon's Fury? I would even see sequels. Like, why not? Why? It's the ride doesn't exist anymore. Like, let it exist as like a house franchise.
Yeah.
I will say there was a lot of questions. Was the house a prequel to the ride? Was it a sequel to the ride? I don't really feel that it was either. It kind of felt like a reboot, like they took the concept and restarted from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just based off of the concept that the ride had, but I felt like it was its own story.
I agree. And I thought the warlocks were a good way to, like, if we can't do dragons.
Yeah, I really think the only portion of it that was really like this like ride heavy was the choose your fighter part at the end. Like, that was it.
Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah, that was fun.
So cool.
And they kept up that the entire season, which was great because, like, I feel like I've seen so many cool things in a house that just fall flat mid-season. They just stopped doing it.
Or just right after opening weekend.
Yeah, one of those.
I think this was one of those, like, they couldn't not deliver on.
Yeah.
It does have me wondering, like, if there's a house that has some sort of element like this. I mean, this, of course, Icons. Was there anything the year before?
Yeah, Legends.
Legends Collide, of course, had multiple endings. You're right. It does make me wonder, like, could one of the originals this year have, like, a multiple endings
I think it's
thing?
such a smart thing to make people go through a haunted house multiple times. Like, even if you're only there for one night.
Yeah, you want to, like, make an excuse to go see it. The fact that this had 4 endings is really cool.
Yeah.
And a very easy logistics when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, just each cast has a different version. Like, it's pretty easy to work out. I don't know. I thought it was really well executed. Fun vibe. Poseidon, let's, like, get on it. What are we doing? And, yeah. Dueling Dragons, love you. The next house is Stranger Things 4.
You're right.
Stranger Things 4. This house I have this at number 15 overall and number 9 of my houses.
I have this at number 11 overall and number 9 of my houses.
Dang.
So,
It was
okay. It was okay.
It was okay.
That's all I got. It was okay.
I'm trying to find my notes. I didn't have a lot of notes on this, honestly. I wish we had a title reveal. The first 2 Stranger Things houses had a different reveal for each season of the show. We didn't have anything. I thought the Chrissy kill was really cool. Another projection effect with her getting levitated through the window and then being dead. I thought all of the Vecnas looked horrible. That was across the board, not a good looking one in the bunch. They all looked like they were like swimming in those costumes. I don't know. That was very disappointing. The 11 versus 1 fight in the Rainbow Room was cool.
Yeah.
With the projection on one's chest.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And then the hits you with the half burnt. That was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that the running up that hill set with the Mindscape set looked really cool, but I wish running up that hill had been playing loudly. It was playing. It was just at a whisper. And I was like, weird that this song was a phenomenon. You clearly paid for the rights because it's playing.
Or they did it, and that's why it was a whisper.
Yeah, very strange. I did not understand why running up that hill was so quiet. The upside down trailer with Steve, you're in Eddie's trailer and there was a hole and you looked up and you see that in Dustin. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I'm glad that they did that.
And that was kind of the end of my positives. I thought the Eddie and Dustin scene could have been way more dramatic. I think they should have been playing guitars. I don't understand why they were just kind of. I feel like they were always just kind of standing around well, what do we do? Yeah, this is the scene.
But the bats were on the screen, so I can't actually hit them, so I'm not gonna try.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about that, the energy was always really weird in there.
And then it was always one of them was missing. And
I thought it was also a mistake to only focus on the Hawkins subplot and not any of the Russia plot, because I thought
for California.
I mean, nothing happened, but I would have liked to have gone to the prison and seen Hopper fight the Demogorgon with a sword. I thought that was really cool, and I'm like, oh, cool. None of that, I guess. None of the scary part of this season. The Vecna stuff is cool. It's just I don't think it was cool in this haunted house. It was disappointing. I don't know that this house is worse than the second Stranger Things house.
I ranked this in the middle of the Stranger Things houses.
If I ranked them by season, if I separated the second house into 2 houses,
No.
I don't know.
No. Can't separate one haunted house.
I will still say that I like the Meat Flayer puppet better than anything in the second Stranger Things house or this house.
I really liked the Vecna dude.
Okay, that was cool. And then Robin Flambe.
Yes. Loved it.
Flambe.
That was great.
And she was always just so
Yeah.
blasé about it.
Yeah.
I love. But yeah, no. The house is fine. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but we had a good time. But it was low. It was low. The next house, however, fascinating. Honestly, truly, the
Studies should be done.
Studies should be done in so many different fields regarding this house. I would say that expectations and reality, truly this is the one, because I had this at number 16 overall on my hype list. I had it at number 10 out of 10 on my houses.
I had it at 14 on my hype list.
We are, of course, talking about Exorcist Believer.
Where'd you end up?
I was so back and forth. This almost ended up in my top 5 for the houses. It did not. I ended up with number 9 overall, number 6 for the houses.
Mine is number 9 overall, number 6.
No,
Number 7 for the houses.
Okay. The Monsters, the last couple weeks that I was going to the event, edged it out. But it was in my top 5 almost all season. And that was truly just, the cast was killing it. The effects were killing it.
I want to see the movie that the house was based on.
I literally have, very curious about alt cut of movie. Because the movie I saw was not the house I did.
And it was unique because we obviously did the house before the movie came out and then watched the movie mid-season. And
then read a book for a book club we still have not had.
We couldn't agree on what we wanted to talk about in that, so.
Sorry. We did read it, and if you also read The Exorcist,
tell us what you thought.
Tell us what you thought. I thought it was fine. It was kind of just the movie, honestly. There was really nothing different.
Honestly, like, yeah, as far as, like, movie adaptations go, that's, like, pretty nail on the head.
Pretty nail on the head, yeah. I also, just out of curiosity, I also read Legion, William Peter Blatty's other novel set in the Exorcist universe. It's
I did
also
not read
Exorcist
that.
3.
I read...
You read the Exorcist Legacy.
Yes.
Which I bought a copy of, but I did not get very far. Because we got derailed, and it became clear that we were not going to make that episode happen by Christmas when we wanted it to happen. But yeah, just so you know, we did read it. And if you also read it, thank you. And please tell us your thoughts down below on the Exorcist book. I will happily chitty chat away with you about it.
Time.
I loved the Hell Realm.
Yes.
That was so effing cool.
It really was.
Not in the movie at all.
Not in the movie. A lot of things not in the movie.
The demon
is
so cool.
The sort of like hut, like...
Oh, yeah.
Not in the movie. Doll.
The doll. What is the doll? Who knows? I don't know. The doll was in the trailer for the house, not in the movie.
It had some great scares in it. There was like a double scare with both girls coming at you at one time. That one, they got me every single time, like almost on the ground.
I wrote down the body and the blood.
Ooh, the poop.
The poop.
The poop.
We always need a poop scene. Poop in Horror Nights, mandatory. Love it. Disgusting.
Nice.
I love it though. I loved the vanishing walls. I live for a scrim.
Oh yes.
That was really cool when they were also in the hospital.
Love a scrim so much.
It's always surprising. You're like, oh, a scrim.
I feel like they have gone away from them a little bit.
Yeah.
And I want to see them come back.
I do too. They're such a cool effect and always gag me every time. I'm just like, a scrim. How surprising. I love a scrim. I loved the exorcism room.
Oh yeah.
And that there were 2 of them.
Yeah, and yeah, they were great.
The girl supported by her vomit.
Yes.
So cool. And that is in the movie.
Yeah.
The face and hand pushing out of the painting in the reality version of that room, and then when you go into the hell version, the lights coming out of the floor.
Yes, loved
was
that.
So cool.
Loved that.
Again, I can't say enough about Lamash 2, the demon. All of the girls playing this character, little baddies. Honestly, the whole cast, baddies.
They had such high energy every single time we went through that house. Every single night.
Like, those girls were flying. They were crawling. They were just, like, giving, like, body contortion.
The girl in the chair, when you are not expecting it to be an actor.
Oh, yeah.
I saw her get so many people
laid out on their asses. Good shit. Really great. It's one of those things where I'm like, this house should be studied because how is it so fucking good? Like,
and the movie is so bad.
It's so bad. I almost bought a t-shirt. I didn't. I considered it all season because I was like, I liked this house enough to buy this fucking t-shirt. But I really did not. I don't want people to think I like this movie. Like, that was the... There is a silver lining to this. I don't know if you saw. They have announced they've fired the David Gordon Green, who is going to direct the next Exorcist movie in this planned trilogy, scrapped. But they've hired a new director, Mike Flanagan. Okay. Like, okay, all right. Hit the gas, actually. And if we get a Mike Flanagan Exorcist movie and a Mike Flanagan Exorcist house, I'm very interested.
It'd be fun.
I'm very interested in that. Oh my God, we're almost done.
We gotta finish on this battery because I didn't plug any more in. Okay.
Okay.
So we ended The Exorcist.
The Exorcist, which brings us to our last house, Blood Moon, Dark Offerings. Lauren?
I have Blood Moon at number 4.
For what? Both?
Yes.
I ended up putting Blood Moon at number 10 overall. 7 for houses. Not to suggest that I didn't like it though. It just ended up kind of lower on my spectrum of the stuff I still liked.
I mean, I had it at number 13 on my hype. I was really not expecting a lot, and so then going into it, I was pleasantly surprised.
I had it at number 5 of the houses, 7 overall. So it dropped a bit, but for me, my biggest concern came true, which was the red light was very overwhelming.
Here's the thing. Yes, there was a lot of red light, and red light drowns out details, but I felt like it was still absolutely gorgeous, even with all the red light, that it would only get boosted if there wasn't red light, you know?
Yeah. I don't have a lot of cons. I do have cons, but I don't have a lot. My biggest con, I really did not like the cultist costumes. I guess I love folklore. I love, the Wicker Man. I love
The Village.
The Village. I do. I love what am I trying to say? Jesus. Midsommar. And I feel like this was definitely taking from a lot of those. I guess I wanted more animal masks or flower crowns or I don't know. I just wanted them to look like people in a cult. And instead they were just kind of in burlap sacks. And I was like, oh, that's kind of ugly. And when we know what the costume department can do, I was just kind of that's kind of disappointing.
I feel like burlap sack for a cult seems absolutely valid.
I mean, fine. I'm more just I guess I was expecting costume design, and it was fine. My other complaint, and it's really my only other complaint, is that I didn't feel that there was enough to the scares. A lot of, I rewatched it, and a lot of the scares are just kind of ugh, and just people grunting or making kind of guttural noises. And I wanted more.
They killed mommy and daddy.
There's that one. I wanted more of that, or I wanted more of the lest we all die. You know what? I wanted more of that. I wanted more of the
chanting.
I wanted more chanting and praying and I wanted more religion. I guess I wanted more of the cult. I wanted to feel ingrained in their world, and I wanted their dialogue and their triggers to kind of reflect that, and it didn't, and that was a little disappointing. This is such a weird nitpick. I'm sorry. It's just the things I notice. So I didn't love that, but that's it. Those are my only cons. Everything else is fucking amazing. This house is beautiful.
So beautiful.
The town square.
Just walking around and seeing the other people that are in the house, I'm I don't know. There was something about that.
Coming into the town square and the little kids doing the maypole with intestines.
It feels like those field trips that we would take to the state fair when we were younger, and they're this is how we used to churn butter.
It felt like Cracker Country. Yeah. Very that. And then,
here's your honey stick.
Going inside of the shops in that town square and being oh, this isn't just a facade. This is a full, and like each shop you would leave and go into the next one, and you would do the full circle. And I was like, this utilization of space is mind blowing. Like, this is what, like, it fully is the next step in the evolution of like Carnival Graveyard to Dead Man's Pier to this was just like a. And I feel like with the promise of like Goblin Feast for the upcoming season, like, and being a village, it's like a very like, well, you know, that we now have expectations when you say a village. I loved the bell tower.
Yeah.
And I loved that you could hear it's like it was beckoning to you like throughout the house, like as you got closer and closer. Once again, another house with reflective scenes. We had a couple with the building of the. It wasn't a wicker man, but it was like a wicker man, an effigy. And I love that it kind of looked like almost like one of the kills out of like Hannibal, like the TV show Hannibal. That I really liked. The schoolhouse set also beautiful. It had a wonderful like autumnal Halloweeny vibe. I feel like this really was the only like Halloween house this season.
Yeah. And
I feel like that's something they try to have every year now, and it really did achieve that for me anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I also love that bitch covered in melted candles. I think about her a lot. She was really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a really great house. It just ended up like, I know it ended up being a lot of people's favorite. It didn't quite meet like that high of the mark for me, but it was still really excellent, and definitely on the spectrum of the houses that I thought were just like very good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Like, I wasn't expecting a lot going into it. Maybe that was like what made me like it so much, because it was so grand and so like intricate.
Yeah.
I really liked it, despite all the red light, which was my hang up going into it. And it was there, but there was still so many details that I was just like okay with it.
The like shoe cobbler set. Felt like something out of like Sleep No More. Like, it was so detailed and like just intricate, and it was like, wow, I could feel like I see the interiority of this character. Yeah. And like that was really, really well executed. There was some incredible set work in this house, absolutely. For sure. And that's really where it shined, was the sets, for sure. Yeah. Which again is why the red light was so disappointing, is because it did turn a lot of them black. But it's such a nitpicky thing. Like, most people don't even notice, but it drives me crazy. But otherwise, that does round out our lists. If you would like, why don't we just do a quick rundown one more time? Do you want to start, or?
So my number 17 was Chucky, which I originally had at number 7 on my hype.
I also had Chucky at number 17. It was originally at number 11 for me.
Number 16 for me was Shipyard, which I had as 16 on my hype.
For me, it was the Oddfellow Scare Zone, which I had originally on my hype list at number 10.
For number 15, I had Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror, which was also 15 on my hype.
15 for me was Stranger Things 4, and that actually dropped quite a bit, because I had it at number 8 originally. That dropped 7 spots. Wow.
My number 14 was Nightmare Fuel, which I did originally have at 17, so that one did climb a bit.
My number 14 was Vamp, and it stayed the same.
13 for me was The Tribute Store, which I originally had at 10.
The Last of Us was my number 13, and I had originally had it at number 12, so it actually dropped a spot.
For number 12, I had Zodiac, which was originally 9 on my hype.
And for me, number 12 was Nightmare Fuel, which actually raised 3 spots from number 15.
So one of the bigger drops for me was I had number 11, I had Stranger Things, which was originally number 3 on my hype list.
Interesting. Number 11 for me was Shipyard, And this was actually a pretty big jump. It moved 6 places from number 17 on my hype list to number 11.
My number 10 was The Last of Us, which I originally had at 12, so it did rise a little bit for me.
And for me, number 10 was Blood Moon, and it actually dropped 3 spots from number 7 to number 10.
My number 9 was The Exorcist, which I originally had at 14, so that's another one that surprised me.
I also had The Exorcist at number 9, and it rose 7 spots from dead last for the houses and number 16 on the hype list. Big jump.
My number 8 was Vamp, which was 8 on my hype list.
And my number 8 was Zodiac, which was number 2 on my hype list. So it dropped 6 spots. But it still really liked it.
Yeah. My number 7 was Yeti, which was originally my number 11.
And my number 7 was Monsters, which was originally my number 5.
Number 6 for me was Jungle of Doom, which dropped a space from 5 on my hype list.
6 for me was Yeti, stayed exactly the same for my hype list. Still number 6.
My number 5 was Universal Monsters, which dropped from number 2 on my hype list.
And my number 5 was The Tribute Store because I really loved it.
Number 4 for me was Blood Moon, which really jumped up because it was number 13 on my hype list.
And number 4 for me was Jungle of Doom. It only dropped 1 spot from number 3 on my hype list. Still in top 5 at number 4, though.
Dueling Dragons came in at number 3 for me, but it was number 1 on my hype list.
And same.
Number 2 was Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins, which was originally number 6 on my hype list.
This is my biggest jump, and it is also Oddfellow, like we said, coming in at number 2. It jumped 8 places from, number 10 on my hype list.
And number 1 was The Darkest Deal, which jumped up from number 4 on my hype list.
And quote, because number 1 was The Darkest Deal, jumping from number 4 on my hype list. Overall thoughts on Halloween Horror Nights 32? This little look back before we start 33?
I've got to say, it's very strange, I think, for both of us to have the top, our top 3 are exactly the same.
That does not really happen.
It really doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, and I think that really just speaks to the quality of those houses, honestly, or the nostalgia that they pulled.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just like I feel like minus like a couple, like all of the houses were extremely good this year. So it was kind of hard to like choose how to rank them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I would say there's definitely houses and honestly a bunch of stuff in maybe the middle of my list where like I really struggled and I probably could go back and like toy with it a little bit if I like really wanted to. But like I'm pretty happy with like where things landed and ultimately there were not a lot of disappointments. And that's really what matters. And the disappointments that I did have, for the most part, were so minor that they barely impacted my feelings at all.
I mean, Chucky.
Chucky, yeah. But I just mean, like the couple of, that's too bad about Dueling Dragons, not having more dragons, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Or, I wish I liked... I'm just being nitpicky for the sake of a review.
And I'm thinking also, my other big drop was probably, Stranger Things, but it's also, they've done that to me before, so it's not so surprising that it's lower on the list.
Yeah, Stranger Things didn't even I was not surprised whatsoever to not like Stranger Things or The Last of Us. I honestly, the longer and longer you go, and I think this is true for everyone who goes, the longer and longer you go, the less you care about the IPs. You start to realize this isn't gonna be my favorite house,
Yeah, I mean,
unless it's some crazy once in a lifetime IP The
Halloween
Weekend or something
from 2015.
Yeah, it's really rare. Or AVP, unless it's something that calls to me very personally, it's rare I'm gonna care that much about them.
That's fair.
But that said, I think this year it's been really good. I would definitely say I think it's the best of the post-pandemic years.
Yes.
And I would say this is probably the closest we've been to the high of 28, 29 of the non-icon years in a long time. This really was working for me really well. The vibes park-wide were really excellent. I liked the music this year. That's always a big one for us. That was our biggest problem with 31 is we didn't like the music.
Yeah.
And that was not a problem I had this year. I mean, apart from Vamp, but whatever. Overall, really great event. I'm very happy, and I'm excited that we are so close to Halloween Horror Nights 33. We know 7 out of 10 houses at the time of this recording. By the time you people see it, probably all of them. It's right around the corner.
It is. We've got a hotel booked.
We have a hotel booked. That's insane. That just kind of clicked for me. Wow. With that said, we would love to hear from you guys down below. I know Halloween Horror Nights 32 is so far behind you. How could you possibly remember your ranking by now? But I know you nerds know. So we would love to hear from you guys. What was your ranking? If you don't have to do the all 17 attractions, but we'd love it if you did. Let us know down below. This is our favorite thing to hear from you guys. Otherwise, you can keep up with us.
They can keep up with you.
I'm still on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it. I'm not super active on the Instagrams, but you can find that on @CathodeCoaster. I might start to transition some of the social media over to like explicitly Horror Nights Gauntlet, like the Instagram and maybe TikTok. I don't know where we're at with that yet when you're seeing this, but feel free to follow us on the socials. Definitely hit the like button, the subscribe, do all of the things to keep us in the algorithm. God knows it doesn't even know who we are anymore. And otherwise, we will see you guys in the fog very soon. Once again, happy Halloween. I have been Dakota.
I'm Lauren.
And thank you so much for tuning in to the Horror Nights Gauntlet.